Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on, well, a fascinating journey. Not just across continents, but deep into the very words we use to describe them. We've got some fantastic sources lined up for you, insights from a language learning expert, and a really vivid story from a passionate traveler. So, our mission today, what we really want to do is unpack how you can describe experiences and places in English like a native speaker. We're going to focus specifically on adjectives and adverbs. You'll hear bits from this traveler's adventures, and we'll be, highlighting those powerful descriptive words he uses, really pulling them apart to see how they work.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here is how just a few carefully chosen words can instantly bring a story to life. They paint these vivid pictures in your mind, right? So we're going to explore how adjectives modifying nouns give us those clear details, and then how adverbs provide those extra layers of information about verbs, adjectives, or even other adverbs. So as we go, try to pay close attention to how these words shape the imagery in your mind.
Okay.
So let's unpack this.
Right. So, our journey starts with a story from a man who travels, well, extensively for his job. He's a rug buyer. He recently shared some incredible advice and these really vivid descriptions from a trip to Europe and Asia. He really emphasizes the importance of meticulous research before you go, tells us you need to plan your trips very carefully if you want them to be enjoyable and, rewarding. His first stop on this particular trip, Morocco. Specifically the vibrant city of Marrakech. He describes it as an absolutely amazing place to visit, high praise, said it's well worth adding to any itinerary. He highlighted the historical buildings and the very beautiful mosques.
It's interesting, isn't it, how he starts right off with absolutely amazing. This is the little word absolutely, how it really intensifies amazing. Amazing isn't just good. It's, extraordinary.
Yeah.
And absolutely just cranks that way out. It gives you such a strong sense of his feeling about America
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Yeah, immediately.
And then historical and beautiful. Those are your classic adjectives. They're those fantastic words that give us more information about a noun, a person, place, or thing. They're not just buildings, they're historical buildings. Gives them that sense of age, importance.
That's a great point. It's like a shortcut to feeling his excitement. Okay, so after Morocco, our traveler took a long, tiring boat ride to Turkey. He assures us it was worth the trip, though, especially if you're interested in local crafts. While he was there, he bought a beautiful Turkish carpet in one of the villages, and he noted that the seller spoke very good English. That must have helped.
Oh, definitely. Makes things smoother.
And he said he was fascinated to see the extraordinary range of patterns on display.
Okay, let's look at that phrase. Long, tiring boat ride. Right away, we see two adjectives working together there. Long and tiring. And that actually leads us nicely into a common question, doesn't it?
You mean the order, when you have more than one adjective?
Exactly. Is there a preferred order? And yes, there absolutely is. Understanding this is one of those little native speaker secrets, It makes your English flow so much more naturally.
That's fascinating. So it's not just random. When we say beautiful Turkish carpet or long, tiring boat ride, there's a logic behind that sequence.
Precisely. There's a general pattern. When you're stacking adjectives, we tend to put words that express an opinion first, before words that describe more objective characteristics or the type of thing.
Okay, so beautiful is the opinion.
Right. And Turkish describes the origin or type. That's why it's a beautiful Turkish carpet, not a Turkish beautiful carpet. Saying it the other way just feels, well, a little off to a native speaker, like a tiny speed bump.
Right, even if you understand the meaning.
Yeah, it's about those unspoken expectations and how we arrange information. And if you have several adjectives describing characteristics, there's also a kind of typical flow. Generally, it's something like size, and maybe temperature, age, shape, color, nationality, material, and finally, the type.
Wow, okay, that's quite a list.
It sounds complex, but it's often intuitive. Think about his journey again. From the small mountain villages of Turkey.
Size, then type. Small, mountain.
Exactly. To the huge, crowded cities of India.
Size, then a characteristic. Huge, crowded.
Perfect. And remember the birds he saw later. With vivid blue and green feathers.
Ah, yes. Multiple colors.
Right. We usually put "and" between the last two colors, blue and green. And vivid describes the quality of those colors. It's not a super strict rule you consciously think about all the time, but it's what tends to sound most natural and clear.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's unpack something else that often trips people up. Adjectives ending in "ed" versus "ing." We heard long, tiring boat ride. That's "ing." But he also said, I was fascinated. That's "ing in." And India is a fascinating country. Back to ing. What's the key difference there? It feels subtle but important.
It is really important. And yeah, it's a classic point of confusion for learners, but the core idea is actually quite straightforward once you get it. We use the ed forms, like fascinated, amazed, tired, bored, to describe how we feel. It's about the person's emotion or state, the person experiencing it.
Okay, so he was fascinated. He felt that.
Exactly.
Uh,
The traveler was fascinated by the patterns because he experienced that feeling. He was amazed by the animals because he felt amazement. On the other hand, the ing forms like tiring, fascinating, amazing, boring describe the thing or person that causes that feeling.
the cause.
Precisely. The boat ride was tiring because it caused him to feel tired. India is a fascinating country because it causes people to feel fascinated. Marrakech is an absolutely amazing place because it causes feelings of amazement in visitors.
Cause and effect. Okay, I think that clicks.
So, continuing with India, he called it a fascinating country using that ing form and said he has always enjoyed his visits there. He observed that the people are very welcoming and friendly. Notice those two adjectives together again. Welcoming and friendly. Both positive descriptions of the people.
And they always seem pleased to see visitors. A big highlight for him was the Gujarati Textile Museum. He described it as really impressive, especially if you're into textiles. Mentioned its wealth of information and some absolutely stunning examples of Indian silk embroidery.
Absolutely stunning. There's that intense adverb with an extreme adjective again. Stunning.
Right. And then for wildlife, he recommends the more remote areas. He said he was amazed, using the ed form there, his feeling at the variety of wonderful animals, including incredible colorful birds with vivid blue and green feathers.
Lovely description. Incredible, colorful, vivid blue and green. Lots of description packed in there.
Though he did admit, a bit sheepishly perhaps, that he found the poisonous spiders and the rather frightening insects quite unsettling.
Understandable. Rather frightening. Rather is a slightly weaker intensifier there. Not very frightening, but still, frightening enough.
Okay, so we've really dug into adjectives, how they paint nouns with color and feeling. But what about adverbs? You mentioned them earlier. They seem just as powerful for adding layers, getting more precise.
They absolutely are. Adverbs are your proficient tools in English. They give more information, more nuance. They usually tell us about verbs, adjectives, or even other adverbs. They answer questions like how, where, when, how often, or how much.
How, where, when, how often, how much. Okay. Can we link that back to the traveler story again? Examples really help.
Sure. Let's start with how. Adverbs of manner. He said you need to plan your trips very carefully.
Carefully. It tells us how to plan.
Exactly. And notice the scarly ending. Many adverbs of manner end in swally. They usually come after the verb or after the object if there is one. Plan your trips carefully. Then there's place. Adverbs of place tell us where. He mentioned trying to stay near the old part of the city.
Near the old part of the city. That's the where.
Right. Or when he said it was the first time I had been there. There is an adverb of place. Yeah. Simple but effective. These usually follow the verb too. And time adverbs like last year or this evening, they're pretty flexible.
Yeah, you can put them at the start or the end.
Exactly. I had a memorable trip last year. Or last year I had a memorable trip. Both sound perfectly natural.
Okay. And frequency, like I often travel or I have always enjoyed. Where do they go?
Good question. Frequency adverbs like often, always, sometimes, never, they usually come before the main verb.
Before, so I often travel.
Right. But there's a little twist. If you have the verb be or an auxiliary verb like have or will.
Like in I have always enjoyed.
Precisely. Then the frequency adverb comes after be or the auxiliary. I have always enjoyed or he is never late.
Got it. Before the main verb, but after be or auxiliaries. Now let's get back to those intensity adverbs. These seem really useful. We heard absolutely amazing, very beautiful, really impressive, rather frightening. How do these work exactly? How do they modify the strength?
Yeah, intensity adverbs or adverbs of degree are fantastic. They let you fine-tune the strength of adjectives or other adverbs. You've got weaker ones like fairly, quite slightly, rather.
Yeah.
They have stronger ones like very, extremely, highly. And then the really strong ones, the maximizers. Absolutely, completely, totally, utterly.
Okay, a whole spectrum of intensity.
Exactly. Now here's a crucial rule, and it's a common mistake for learners. Those strongest adverbs, absolutely, completely, totally, you can generally only use them with what we call extreme adjectives.
Extreme adjectives. What are those?
They're adjectives that already imply a limit or a very high degree in their meaning. Words like amazing, stunning, terrifying, exhausted, excellent, freezing, boiling.
Okay. Like the absolutely stunning embroidery. Stunning is already extreme.
Precisely. You wouldn't normally say very stunning or fairly stunning because stunning is already at the top of the scale. Absolutely stunning works perfectly.
Uh,
But for your more standard, non-extreme adjectives, words like friendly, beautiful, tired, good, cold, you typically use very.
so the people were very friendly, not absolutely friendly.
Exactly. Using absolutely with a non-extreme adjective like friendly just sounds
Yeah.
wrong, or at least very unnatural. The adverb really is super useful here
Oh, how so?
because really is incredibly versatile. It works with most adjectives, both extreme and non-extreme.
Ah, so it's a safe bet if you're unsure.
Pretty much really impressive, really stunning, really friendly, really beautiful, really generally works well.
Good tip. Now, what about those tricky adverbs that look exactly like their adjective counterparts, like work hard versus this is a hard exercise? That one definitely gets people.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. English can be a bit sneaky there. Some adverbs of manner, the ones telling us how, look identical to the adjective form. Common examples are hard, fast, late, and early.
So context is key.
Absolutely. When our traveler says, work hard on your research, hard is the adverb. It describes how to work. But in this is a hard exercise, hard is the adjective, describing the noun exercise.
And hardly is completely different, right?
Totally different. That's a huge trap. Hardly means almost not at all or very little. Like he hardly spoke, meaning he spake very little. It's not related to working hard.
Okay, need to watch out for that one.
Another really common pair is good and well.
Right. Good is the adjective, well is the adverb, usually.
That's the main distinction. Yes, remember the carpet seller? He spoke very good English.
Good describes the noun English.
Exactly. But if you want to describe how he spoke, you'd say he spoke English very well.
Ah, well describes the verb spoke.
Great. Well is the adverb there. Just add one more wrinkle. Well can be an adjective, but usually only when talking about health.
Oh, like, I don't feel well today.
Precisely. She's not well, she's got a cold. There, well means healthy. But mostly, think. Good, adjective, well, adverb.
Okay, that's a lot of useful detail on adjectives and adverbs. So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, our listener? How can you actually apply these insights to your own communication, whether you're talking about travel or just, everyday life?
Yeah, this is the crucial part, isn't it? Taking the knowledge and using it. Now that you've heard these rules and examples, the best thing you can do is start actively listening for them. When you're reading, watching something, listening to conversations, pay attention. How are people using adjectives? What about adverbs? For instance, if you were describing, say, your favorite quiet spot, would you naturally say a quiet little wood or a little quiet wood?
Based on what you said, quiet little wood sounds more natural. Opinion quality, quiet before size, little.
Exactly. It follows that general pattern. And think back to the traveler describing the people in India. How did he put it?
He said they were very welcoming and friendly.
Right. Notice very intensifying, welcoming, and friendly, both non-extreme. And connecting the two adjectives, little details like that.
So the key is really practice and just trying it out. Maybe think about a memorable trip you've taken, or even just a favorite place nearby, or a meal you loved. Can you describe it? Maybe say it out loud or jot down a few sentences. Try using at least, say, 3 adjectives and an adverb we talked about today. Instead of just, it was a castle, try, what was that example? A beautiful, ancient, ruined castle.
Yeah. See how much more vivid that is. Or maybe a truly delicious spicy curry. The goal isn't just memorizing grammar rules from a book. It's about internalizing them so you can communicate more precisely, more vividly, more naturally. By really focusing on these descriptive words, you're not just learning grammar points. You're gaining the power to paint compelling pictures with your words, making your stories, your descriptions really come alive for the listener.
Absolutely. This deep dive really shows just how much power we have in our words, doesn't it? Power to paint those vivid pictures, convey exact meanings. It's not just about getting the grammar right. It's about telling your story effectively.
Definitely. We've seen how understanding things like adjective order or that ed versus ing difference or how to use intensity adverbs correctly, how all that can transform your descriptions from just functional, basic information to something truly engaging and expressive. It lets you share not just what happened, but how it felt, how it looked, how it sounded. There's a difference between saying the food was good and, I don't know, the absolute delicious meal left me feeling completely satisfied. big difference.
It really is. So we definitely encourage you to keep exploring this. Listen for these descriptive words everywhere in podcasts, movies, books, conversations. The more you notice them, the more you consciously try to use them yourself, the more natural it'll become. Maybe as a little challenge for this week, try describing one of your favorite foods using at least 2 adjectives and 1 adverb we've discussed. Could be fun.
Good idea.
And for some extra practice and a quick recap of everything we covered, do check out the accompanying PDF. We've put together a list of key adjectives and adverbs, those structures to remember, and some self-practice exercises to help it all sink in. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. Until next time, happy describing.